part of its panel discussion. We're going to discuss barriers of using and developing of technologies of AI. And I would like to invite to the stage, well, George Helder, please, because he has not yet spoken today. Alexander Kraynov, Yandex, please, you're welcome. And Alexander Hanin, he's spoken already. Please take your seats, and I will introduce you in a more detail, and we will start. Maybe I will stay standing. Well, we'd like to start with discussions of some standard questions. Well, since it's a discussion, it would be great for the speakers to share opinions with each other, to sort of fine-tune the ideas aired by other speakers. And I would like to start with Alexander Kraynov. That's the person, to be quite candid, is very well known among those who are dealing with AI. He is from Yandex. He's in charge of AI laboratory. A lot of products we are using actually belongs to him and his colleagues. Alexander, my question to you. A lot of things been done in Russia. Actually, the federal law on AI was created, and a big forum is being prepared, which is going to be developed to ethical norms. And it was mentioned, still, the barriers are still there, not eliminated. Well, in every country there are some, but three main barriers in Russia preventing the development, more intensive development of AI. Hello. And the main barrier that I will name, I don't know whether there's anything comparable in capacity. It's catastrophic lack of resources. I mean, staff. Well, speaking about staff, I mean the top highest quality experts, scientists or leading developers. In our field, the weight and influence of one individual is high. It's whether it's a driverless car or weather forecast or personal assistant, whatever. Well, they have there's one or two leaders there. And the success of the product belongs in them. Of course, it's not the two persons who does it. It's who do it. It's a team, but it depends on who's in charge of the projects, the level of qualification of the other team, because they learn from the leader, and the quality of the product generated. In our field, the situation very often happens is plus minus 1.5% of quality determines whether the product is going to be in demand and high quality or not. And the number of top experts in AI in the country, well, I don't know, it's just tens of them. Well, realistically, it's not 50 even. I mean, it's about 20. And just imagine the deficit of the staff. Well, the technology, it's 10 times higher than those achievements of startups or whatever. It all determines by this very fact. And you asked for three reasons. Okay. Another quite serious reason. Well, I'm going to talk about that. It's the vector of migration.
And where it goes. If we compare the number of people, the top specialists that leave the country, and those top specialists who come to the country, this is also a correlation which is not quite favorable for us here. People, top specialists are unique. That's why this is a serious problem. But indeed, we can say that everyone leaves Russia. Actually, no. In many countries, we see the same situation. Positive balance is only in the United States. A lot of countries lose in this in this paradigm. that's the situation we witness now. And reason number 3 I'd point out, probably it's different from the point related to talents, but this reason is prejudice against technologies among ordinary people, not on the level of the government, the state. Usually the state is a reflection of public opinion, sometimes even more conservative. In our case, in Russia, I think if we just look at all pros and cons, this state is even more optimistic and more advanced if we compare it against the public opinion. But the public opinion is very prejudiced and very cautious. It is formed by the media and several serious scientific works related to artificial intelligence. I mean, 2 movies, Matrix and Terminator. So people are very cautious about it. But we need to consider opinion of the people. We shouldn't say you're all stupid, we will introduce AI and everything will be fine. No, it should go in a different way. We need to raise awareness and for people to embrace these ideas smoothly. Now the barrier is still there, and the attitude of the society towards artificial intelligence is very cautious and prejudiced. That's why the process is a bit slower than it could have been. Alexander, thank you very much. Now I'm giving the floor to Alexander Khanin. You know him very well. He already spoke today. Could you please add anything to this or contribute to this discussion or agree to what Alexander is speaking about? Actually, I agree with Sasha, and I would like to add the following. Apart from huge lack of tech specialists, there is also lack of tech entrepreneurs and owners of products. We need people who are motivated and take it not as a hobby but as a business for their life, to create a cool product that not only can make them very rich but to make the world a better place, because many people want to become part of history and change lives of people, but there are not so many people like that. And in the past, entrepreneurs were perceived as speculants, and there were many negative associations, meanings around this word, this term, businessman. But now when we bring up our own technical talents, not all of them are entrepreneurs. We lack entrepreneurial spirit around. And another barrier that we see now is quite a regulated policy of exporting products abroad. If you try and follow all the procedures to ship a product based on AI abroad to Kazakhstan, for instance, and make all the confirmations from all regulators down the road, this is a challenge indeed. And how can we speak about competitiveness if our people have to only focus on internal market or make a different jurisdiction for their businesses, relocate the jurisdiction for the business to work with other markets? This policy should be simplified. For several times, I had to get all the certificates needed to ship something abroad. It takes months, but when it's just days that you have to make a deal, but the agencies say it'll take several months to meet all the requirements, this is too much, of course. We need to simplify the processes. If we want to compete in the Russian market, we are competing against global international brands, and they go into the same area. They all work in AI, and basing only in the local market, you cannot compete even here against these giants. And number 3, since we all touch upon 3 main barriers that we witness now, the thing is that the large corporations are cannibalizing the market now, and it's hard to progress for startups. Now we try to change this perception. we want startups to go to larger corporations and take them as partners. Indeed, the resources of startups are not comparable to those of large corporations. That's why not many survive. But considering the previous speaker's contribution, who said that we lack talents, we actually should work with startups as partners, not try and push them away, but take them as partners. And this is the basis for our exponential growth if we partner effectively. Alexander, thank you very much for highlighting this problem and actually tackling this problem already. Well, at least we are moving in this direction. George Held is what we call digital director of VEON group of companies. George, could you please, I know you worked in Russia and abroad, could you please contribute to what colleagues have been talking about? Could you please speak about international experience, what challenges they face, just for us to understand the situation better? Thank you very much. First of all, I should say VEON is a group of companies. We work in 10 countries. In Russia, we call ourselves Beeline. In other countries, we are also present quite strongly. So from international perspective, the main challenge we see in development of artificial intelligence is expectations. Everyone expects that this thing will be switched on and everything will be fine for everyone. But we understand that artificial intelligence means machine learning systems and self-improving models that improve the whole thing on their own. So those expectations that three guys create something in their garage and they switch it on tomorrow and everything will be fine, there is such understanding around people and it is circulating in the media, but actually sometimes should pass for this thing that these three guys created in their garage, for it to become something industrial and tackle serious challenges and give us serious things. That's the main problem, the level of expectations. Another point, it's great that you mentioned working with startups. Artificial intelligence without a large amount of data doesn't offer us a value. Three guys in the garage can create a cool idea, but before it works on a huge amount of data that can come from large companies, it'll never be efficient enough. So there should be a good balance between startups and large corporations that can make it in a way that artificial intelligence works effectively. And number three, I'm surprised we're not speaking about the ethics in this area. Ethics in artificial intelligence, and we see it across all markets where we operate, is the main challenge, I think. There are things that are quite obvious. For instance, when we work with the Lisa Alert movement and through our AI we help them to find people who got lost in the forests, it looks clear and simple, but when it's more complicated in terms of ethics, when a person is standing on a bridge ready to jump into the water, and we actually may ask ourselves a question, who are we to make this decision? And the ethics base for AI is a very complicated matter, and it is very important for the humankind, and that's one of the most important blocking factors for development of AI, both in Russia and abroad. George, thank you very much. Now it's obvious, if young people watch our broadcast now, we can give them a message. Guys, start your training, your course in product ownership. It's hard to be taught in entrepreneurship, but if you are good product owners, this might be very good for your future career. So George touched upon a very important thing. I also mentioned that ethics part of the whole thing is very important, and everyone interprets it on their own, depending on what company AI works for, or a sector AI works for. But Alexander Kraynov, could you please tell us a couple of words about what Yandex thinks about ethics? How do you perceive this? What do you think about it at all? What's your vision? This is a large and comprehensive, complicated story indeed. You know, there is a number of aspects if we're speaking about ethics of application of AI. Actually, AI doesn't have an ethics at all. They just have matrices. But the application of AI is linked to ethics. There is one thing. There is society that is concerned very much about it. Technologically, it is unethical to say that you are stupid, guys, you do not understand things, and we just ignore what you say. We should not act like that. We should always articulate that and follow what we speak about. We should say, guys, please relax. Human values will stay. Technologies will develop for the benefit of the humankind, not against it. And there is no such fundamental problem. Everyone follows such paradigm, and no difficulties, no challenges in development. But there are actually not obvious problems that we should tackle somehow. We do not know how yet. For instance, let's take the following case. For instance, we have AI systems that, for instance, we achieved a level where it automatically makes legal judgments, court judgments, or makes decisions on granting a loan. If we add the factor of nationality into the system, for instance, it might give us a better decision. But ethically speaking, can we do that? Probably no, because it looks like Nazism, sort of. Let's not make it like this, work like this, even if it gives enough profit. If we're speaking about recommendation of music, can we do the same? The first answer is yes, of course. There are national preferences. If you are coming from a specific country, if you're of a specific nationality, the computer can recommend you something that you might like. So it might recommend you classical music or rap or something like that, but it might also lead to concerns and negative feedback. Okay, we should also sort this out. We should not put nationality into the model, but the model can take your nationality from your name or somewhere else, so the limitation you set for yourself might not work effectively, and it means that you should structure systems and launch regular monitoring and checks to avoid things we want to avoid. So to see whether the model is doing something we do not want it to do. And this is serious work we should carry out, and it is quite complicated work. But the main thing I should say is that we have published our ethical principles, and we are very serious about them, and we monitor them very closely, and we update them regularly. But if we articulate our own ethics principle that we have is just one sentence, and this can describe everything we do, and I can just tell you the principle of ethics of Yandex in one phrase. We teach machines to make decisions so we can make as human beings. That's our ethics. George, please, you're welcome. We should split it into two parts. The technical part of it, what good engineers are working in, data scientists. That's the simplest part of this ethics conversation. Ethics conversation is a deeper thing. It goes into philosophy and religious standards we forgot totally. And we as humankind, we are living according to ethics standards that were created 2,000 years ago. Irrespective of the book you follow, this is, the right cheek, the left cheek, that story of 2,000 years. We're growing, we're developing very quickly. And the ethics rules that were adopted 50 years ago, they might seem obsolete today. For the case with Lisa Alert, when a drone is searching for people in the forest, the same drone in eastern countries can shoot terrorists. Actually, drone is a machine, AI-based machine, and a lot of things technically we are capable of doing, but we as humankind were not ready to utilize it properly. And this discussion as to what music to recommend sometimes is idiotic. In London Symphony Orchestra, they fired half of the orchestra because they have to diversify and have musicians not only with white skin, but those from other nationalities. We technologically we're going very quickly, and we know how to work with hardware. We have challenges. Yes, sometimes we lack scientists and they go to the Silicon Valley. If you work in Georgia, Kazakhstan, Algeria, Bangladesh, where our company operates, you can see the depth of the problem. But this ethics basis we are having now is deeper than that. It is more complicated, and we as mankind, before we tackle all the things we need, all these cool things our smart engineers and startups and large corporations are inventing, they will actually face the deadlock. Thank you, George. Ethics theme is endless. You brought it onto a more global level now. Frankly speaking, when we're speaking about the barriers and when we're discussing Russia, yes, talent is a challenge, but everyone also speaks about money. For instance, I have an idea, I have a great team, but they do not give me the money. And access to capital, surprisingly enough, today we haven't touched upon this point at all. And I would like to clarify it with Alexander Hanin, because you might know a lot about this subject. Now, in Russia, this challenge of accessing capital for a good team with a good prototype, does it exist? Or now a number of funds and business angels and venture investors now allow good teams and good prototypes to operate and get access to financing and bring your product to the next level. Yes, indeed, there is an understanding, an opinion that we lack capitals and startups are having hard times. But now we see that the supply is more than demand in this area, especially if we are speaking about Russia. There are a lot of various institutions for development that give grants and subsidies, both tangible and intangible, and good startups to get funding is an easy thing today. The key thing is to have a good product and people who know how to monetize this product. Now it's easy to file an application and get a grant or a subsidy, even if you have very, very early stage prototypes and no revenue. And round A and round B is also an easy task. But the problem is in something different. In Russia, there is no market of exiting, not many institutions to sell your company to. And the buyers, well, I think there are not many of them, just few of them around, and you know who they are. Entrepreneurs want to have They do not only want to go to the office and have their salaries and bonuses. They want to create unicorns. What does it mean? This is a company with value of more than 1 billion, the one large investors believe in, having invested into it, according to such estimation. In Russia, there are not many companies, tech companies, who had their IPOs and who were successfully sold to a strategic investor. So wrapping up, I can say that yes, you can raise funds, but as developed companies, for developed companies, it's hard to sell them. Okay, thank you very much. We do not have much time left for this session. Probably you have questions now in the audience. You have a chance to ask questions to the leaders of the AI industry. Any questions? No. So let me conclude and wrap up the session. I see now that all that young people who study in universities now should actually develop the culture of entrepreneurship in themselves. That's number one. Number two, we should not watch movies like Terminator and Matrix. Actually, they say that the new Terminator is coming out, but I even watched the teaser. But since Alexander says that such movies create prejudices, I will not watch it. Well, it was a joke, obviously, but actually, from professional standpoint, we should watch such movies to understand how to communicate to a wider audience, to avoid various concerns among them. So now I know why I should watch this movie. Thank you very much for this. And number three, dreams of entrepreneurs should come true. That's the final point. And with this positive point, let's finish our session. It's 3 seconds before we conclude. Thank you very much for staying with us, for your attention. Thank you very much to the speakers. If you liked the session, let's applaud to our speakers and panelists. They did their best.